Yes.
So you will own a piece of document called a title, not knowing that you own it. 10 people, more than 10 people claim that particular piece of land. And actually there is no one of them is genuine, because either it's a, when it's a public land, it's not anyone's land. So,
good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, viewers from wherever you're watching us from. It's your host here at Teampursuit Estates, where indeed we are finding you homes where your heart blossoms. And speaking of homes, today we have an amazing guest, and we want to delve and dive into issues of law, property law, and historical Kenya ya kugongana mambo ya mavoko and all that. We have an amazing guest who's going to just break all this for us, and so that not we understand but you understand, because we are doing it all for you. Karibu sana, Charles.
thank you so much.
It's not just Charles, it's Wakili Charles.
Thank you so much. I'm honored.
Yeah, so maybe Charles, if you just introduce yourself to the viewers, tell them what you do. And
Okay, my name is Charles Mugane. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya.
Yes.
I specialize in property law. So all this, what we're going to discuss, is my specialty. I've done that for quite some time, so I have amassed a lot of experience in it.
Yes,
and I'm honored to discuss this with you.
It is a great honor to have you here.
Thank you.
And viewers, we are talking about property partnerships and preventing fraud, and which has been brought to us by Teampursuit Estates, indeed, where we are finding your home where your heart blossoms, courtesy of Charles Mugane on Kenya's real estate legal landscape. Maybe Charles, just how did you get into law?
Into law? Wow, that's a long story.
Yes.
I think it's something that has been in me for quite a long time.
Yes.
I developed a passion in law when I was, I think, primary school. I was not sure whether I would make it anyway, because obviously
you were not sure.
I was not sure. The bar was very, very high then. And just passing the exams from obviously KCP, KCSE, going into campus was not as easy.
Not easy, yes.
Yes. So, but here we are, and I thank God for that.
Yes. Out of law, what do you do?
I'm a farmer. I'm a farmer. I do farm. I do greenhouse farming. That's when I'm not practicing this thing we call law. Yes.
So you get your hands dirty when you're not here.
I do. Yes, and it's quite enjoyable.
Awesome.
It is
therapeutic as well.
Very.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So can you provide an overview of the legal procedures, specifically for acquiring land and property in Kenya?
Yes.
Especially for individuals and foreign investors.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a field that has come to light, especially in Kenya right now, in terms of fraud and so many bad things. Investors will tell you that they are very, very scared. The landscape is not as ideal as you go to other countries, you'll find it to be. But one thing that comes to mind is one thing called due diligence. And once you know what you want to buy, property, may it be houses or land, the first thing you want to do is called due diligence. Now, what is due diligence? So due diligence is you're doing a research on the title itself, on what you're going to buy, in terms of, is it land or when it's a house, it's built on land. So you want to do an investigation on the integrity of that particular property. So question is, how do you start? It's a major thing. So you can do this through professionals like advocates, like we are. And so you can appoint an advocate to do due diligence for you. So that due diligence, let me start by saying, it's a search on title. And when you're searching a title, you're doing a search on a title, you're looking at the historical ownership of land since when it was allotted to the original owner.
Yeah.
So we do a search. We have two types of searches. We have one general search where you get to know, and I wish I could just show you who is the current owner of a particular piece of land. So if you're selling, or if land is owned by Teampursuit, then it will tell me that this is the current owner. If it is owned by an individual, then it will be able to tell me that this is the current owner.
Yes.
At this particular point, you will have required, or you will have sought for a copy of the title from whoever who is going to sell that land to you. So you'll be able to know this is the actual legitimate owner of this particular piece of land. The second one is a historical search. So the historical search will tell you from inception, this land, all this land is owned by the government.
Yeah.
And so from inception, when the beginning of land acquisition was there in Kenya, it will tell you Teampursuit owned it in 1980, sold to Charles Mugane, sold to somebody else and somebody else. So you're able to have a trail of a history of who are these owners of this particular piece of land. That will give you a general overview of whether you're getting yourself into a proper acquisition or is it a fraud.
Yeah.
Yes.
One thing that is also usually challenging is how do you get to identify the right professionals?
Oh yes.
Because
yes.
also there are quack professionals. Sorry to say. So how is that?
They are there. And before we get there, let me just say, advocates who are professionals work with other professionals called, for instance, surveyors, you'll get estate agents, and so on and so forth, and planners and so on. So, but obviously there are genuine professionals and there are others you call quacks, fake ones.
Yes.
So for lawyers and most of these professionals, we have an umbrella body under which all of we are all under an umbrella body. For lawyers, we have the Law Society of Kenya. So you want to get to know the identity and the genuineness of a lawyer, you may want to contact Law Society of Kenya. Although again, we have a search engine on the internet. So the Law Society of Kenya search engine. So you'll be able to, if you key in my name there, you'll be able to see whether I'm active, inactive, or non-existent. So that's the first. So due diligence obviously will start from there. Or if you're also not very sure, then you can just write to the Law Society of Kenya, and they're happy to confirm whether one is a genuine professional or not. In terms of the surveyors, they have the Institution of Kenya Surveyors. Also, those ones deal with the surveyors, quantity surveyors, I guess, among others. It's an umbrella body, so you can also write to them. Yes.
And, what are the key legal considerations, and best practices for creating partnerships?
Yes.
Also in real estate and property ventures. Because there are partnerships that people get into, but doesn't come into fruition then. Or someone ran away with X amount of money and all that.
Yes.
What are some of the things to check on?
One thing, if you want to get into partnerships, obviously you're approaching somebody who you have an interest in or whatever they're offering. So the first thing, again, lawyers are integral in all these things. So you want to get into a partnership agreement or a partnership deed that is exhaustive of what you're expected to do, obligations as a partner with whoever else. You find that we write so many documents, including partnership deeds, memorandums of understanding, joint ventures. Every obligations of any of those parties is spelled out there. So from the word go, we'll be able to advise that what you're getting yourself into, what obligations you're getting yourself into with this other partner, whether it's genuine or not. By the time that is happening, then your lawyer will have advised you in terms of done again due diligence on your partners and what you're trying to do, and they'll have advised you the best way to go about these things. But then generally lawyers are not prophets. We may not know what may happen in future. So what will happen is at least you'll have a backup in terms of the documentation that you have bound yourselves as partners. So if you want remedies that you can always approach court, you'll have at least you'll have have been covered through this documentation. Yes.
As experienced as you are, what are some of the things in terms of legalities and regulations that are lacking in the real estate and property industry, or that needs improvement?
Yes.
That you've experienced? Yes.
Well, that's quite complex.
Yes.
The scope is quite wide, but we need regulations in terms of, first of all, planning in Kenya is very, very poor. So real estate people like you are, you go to other countries, you'll find that there are regulations in terms of, how much in terms of subdivisions can we undertake, so that we make sure that if areas are designated as residential, there is a minimum acreage in terms of subdivisions. If areas are designated as commercial, let them be commercial.
Yeah.
So what we're having now is we have poor planning all over the country. So land, you can almost subdivide land, although you'll not get a title that is, the size of this couch. And that's not good for any country.
Yeah.
You want proper planning, proper designations in terms of what is required to be done where, in terms of the land use. So I think for me, planning land usage in Kenya, I think there is so much to be done there. Yes.
Any thoughts on data analytics for, projections of comps, like let's say in the US, UK, there's comps. If I'm to sell a certain number or a certain size of property or a certain house, I can, before even I start the development, for example, I already have the comps of the areas based on other properties.
Oh, okay.
And there's one system where you can just log in and just get the comps of specific areas.
Yes.
Which gives, I think it gives investors a leverage to come, because they can project, if I spend 10 million shillings on this project, I'm projecting to sell it at X amount of money.
Yes.
That's so I can project my profit even before I start. So what are your thoughts on such kind of systems?
Yeah, that is lacking generally, and because Kenya, in terms of, we have resourcefulness, we've not gotten there. These are things obviously we are importing from, or we are reading from other developed countries.
Yeah.
What we are doing right now, and it is quite commendable, the government is doing right now, is something called geomapping or georeferencing.
Yes.
So make sure that all the land in Kenya is accounted for, so that you can, on the click of a button, you're able to, like what we were saying, searches and everything, it is there. You can see it. So the pilot the pilot program has started in Nairobi, not all Nairobi. Yeah. Obviously, lacks resources to do it. I mean, within the whole country, but that will happen. But in terms of now, once we have this data, all of it geomapped land of Kenya, then now we can go now to what you're calling.
The comps plan.
The comps.
Yeah.
So then, because it runs on data that is already there.
Yes.
So we are a step behind. Yes. But once all that is gotten and we have it, then I think now we can scale up. Yes. So but it's a step in the right direction. Yes.
Future is bright.
Future is bright.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So there's issues of fraud, and people will always going through that in Kenya in terms of property, real estate. What are some common forms of property fraud in Kenya that you've experienced, and how can individuals avoid being defrauded?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fraud cuts across. One, the Constitution has 3 different types of land. So you'll have private land, you'll have community land, and you'll have public land. So fraud mostly you'll find especially in private land and public land. So the Mavoko land that you just talked about is on land that is owned by the public or government land. Obviously, you can never own unless you're leased by the government land that is public. So you'll find people, unscrupulous people, who abrogate or they get land that is public and they sell it to unsuspecting individuals. Now, unsuspecting, I will say ignorant people out there. You know, so that is one. But number two, I will identify a piece of land and I'll know that maybe the owner is deceased or we claim to own a certain piece of land, whether private or not, and sell to third parties, ignorant third parties. So the person here in the middle is the one who gets money from land that is not there. So you're selling air. But also you're also very quick at buying, because one, maybe the value is very, 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 you're incentivized because the value is very low. What you don't know is that these people are making billions of shillings or dollars because they are selling to so many people.
Yes.
So you will own a piece of document called a title, not knowing that you own it. 10 people, more than 10 people claim that particular piece of land. And actually there is no one of them is genuine, because either it's when it's a public land, it's not anyone's land. So those are some of the fraud cases that are there. They are widespread. Yes, they are very, very common.
Are there ways or means of, on your title, knowing that this is a fake title, this is not a fake?
By the look of the title, you can't tell.
You can't tell.
That's why due diligence in terms of searches matters a lot. Let me just tell you that the law is developing. And we have a recent Supreme Court judgment that will tell you that just mere holding of a title is not ownership. So it is not those days when you used to, almost, just just a show title and we all respect that it is yours.
It is yours.
The Supreme Court says that you have to show how you acquired that piece of property. So you'll have the title, yes.
That's one.
Yes, but let's go into how you got into it. Did you conduct a search? We need at least an original search. So you'll tell us that you have an application form for the search. It was done by myself or my advocate on my behalf. And at that point, we found that the search results were positive for me to go into the next step.
Yes.
Number two, I entered into a sale agreement between me and this person.
The agreement.
The agreement is there and properly signed, so it's a legal agreement.
Yes.
The other thing is, I paid money. Obviously, it was not a gift. If it was a gift, then we'll have to show how that it was a gift.
Yeah.
So if I paid money, then I have to show evidence of the payment of money to the person who sold it to me. Other than that, I paid taxes to the government with respect to this sale. So I paid stamp duty, I paid rates, I paid land rent to the government.
Yeah.
The other thing is that, other than all that, is that I took possession.
Yes.
I took possession. I have it. It's mine. I put a perimeter wall. Maybe I'm doing a development.
Yes.
So those steps, they matter a lot. So it is these steps that are the byproduct of all these steps is this title.
Yes.
So the Supreme Court is telling you, you have to be vigilant.
You have to be vigilant.
Yes.
So that takes us to the do's and don'ts.
Yes.
And one of the don'ts I'm learning from that is don't dispose of the documents. Saa zingine, if you've already owned the property, all you cherish and hold is the title.
Yes.
But now it's interesting.
Yes.
You have to have the agreement.
Very
you have
true.
to have all the other documents to show that. So what are some of the do's and don'ts?
One is you're interested in a piece of property.
Yes.
You don't buy it from the comfort of your home. You have to actually get up and go to the site and inspect and see that it is there. One. But number two, the moment you're engaging somebody who is a potential seller and they have no title, red flag, run for your life. Yeah. So always engage somebody who has at least a title document to that piece of property. Again, even as lay people out there, the other thing we want to do is just go to the neighbors out there, just ask them, You know, according to you, is there have been any dispute with respect to the property? Ask around, interview people.
Gather information
about it. Before then, you engage now a proper professional to now take you through the other next steps.
Yes.
Yes. So that's I think that's just it. The do's and the don'ts are simply, I can just simply summarize them as that. Just engage people with title, conduct due diligence. That's a must, a big do, and that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
You said the future. You mentioned the future being bright.
Yes.
You mentioned the law also developing, to safeguard investors and the entire industry itself. What are the most promising property investment opportunities in Kenya that maybe you know of, and how can one identify, that you've already covered potential red flags in such opportunities using legal means?
Yes.
Yes.
The opportunities are there, and there are many. Real estate is booming. We have a huge and a big population of people without proper housing. The constitution now guarantees people decent housing, and so that's a right. We have also to talk about affordable housing. So in terms of investment opportunities, real estate will not go wrong. Housing especially. So that's one place that you need to focus on as investors. And number two, we have a very big middle class who are willing to spend decent amounts of money on a decent, property acquisition. So is this something that, from experience, I can say that has high returns in as much as it is capital intensive, but has guaranteed high returns.
Guaranteed high returns.
Yes.
So I've gone through the legal processes. I've done the due diligence. But in one way, I've been defrauded.
Yes.
What next? Because lots of people have been asking this, just to give them the awareness of, okay, what do I do?
Yes.
I've been defrauded. What are the legal steps I need to take? Some people say, let me just leave it and move on. But everyone has a right.
Yes.
So what next in terms of legality?
Yes. So you do it right, and unfortunately, something unfortunate as that happens to you. I'll say that the fraudsters are engaging in a criminal act.
Yes.
So the Directorate of Criminal Investigation have designated a whole department on land fraud. So the first thing you want to do is report to the police, and investigations will be carried out, and arrests, I can tell you, and people will be arraigned in court. So what that will do to you is that it won't return back your land, but at least people are facing criminal sanctions. But obviously, as I said, the law is growing. So right now we're having people being restituted in criminal proceedings back to where they would have been if this fraud never went through. Unfortunately, proceedings take quite a long time. So by the time we're at the end of it, may take a bit of time. But you have another recourse of approaching civil action or civil court for compensation, as much as the criminal proceedings are ongoing. So you can also institute a civil action at the same time. One, the product of a civil action is compensation. My land or my money or my development, all those things plus interest and cost. But criminal proceedings will make sure that the guilty are locked up in prison. So you can pursue those things, and those are there for you.
Just to be safe and safeguard yourself.
Yes.
Real estate market in Kenya, has been made safer and more accessible to the majority of the population. You've talked of the middle class also being able to exercise their financial muscles to wanting to, be able to have investments and all those kind of things for a safer future for the family. What are some of the issues that you can address in terms of legalities of affordability and accessibility to the masses?
By the investors?
By investors or just anyone who wants to own property.
Yes.
Making it, affordable, or making it something that majority can be able to invest in, because it has been known that real estate is only for the wealthy.
Yes.
and at times we feel our prices are not controlled.
Yes.
It's on willing buyer, willing seller, which is okay sometimes. What can you say about that?
First of all, I'm a proponent of government and regulators keeping off the market, because a market has a way of regulating itself. I mean, principles of demand and supply will always control markets and prices. But again, it's a new dawn in Kenya. We have, as I said, a huge population of middle income earners. And these are people who are very young, and who have not settled yet. So with that, then that's a huge open market for investors. But in terms of affordability, now we have this common term of affordable housing that targets everybody in the it doesn't matter who you are. So you'll find a couple. I mean, the market in terms of like townhouses or houses, I mean, of a certain bracket, have their own market. When you go to the lower cadre, people not very well off, you'll find there is now the affordable housing, and so the market is open. The market is open.
The market is open.
Yes.
Recently, there are the changes of government fees, including real estate. And what are your thoughts on how these fees have increased by up to 100 times?
It's unfortunate. I mean, I'm on my way to court for sure to challenge some of those decisions that are being made by the government without public participation or involvement of the masses. It is unfortunate. You cannot. You cannot. Economists will tell you if you want to make money from taxes, you widen the tax base. But you don't tax one person so many times. This is not one of those issues of expanding the tax base. This is just a rogue approach to issues that are very sensitive to people. So I think it is ill-informed, the move to increase this taxation. It is ill-advised. I will suggest or advise the government to look into other ways of earning not from the that approach is very misinformed. Yes.
And it will have a huge ripple effect.
It will, and it has started. I think the current regime thinks that by taxing, adding more taxes, is a way of
getting more.
It doesn't work. I mean, you'll see from the current prices of fuel, the KRA, Kenya Revenue Authority, has missed their target than when fuel used to be lower in terms of the pricing. So it does not work. And the earlier they realize this, the better for them. Yes.
So as things grow and as things improve, one thing also is urbanization is growing and improving. And there are challenges of urbanization even within our rural areas. Issues of inheritance, issues of I'm looking for the legal term you guys use. Succession issues. Can you delve a little bit on that here just to help? Because lots of families are struggling with succession.
True.
Yes.
Succession is another very wide scope or area. When one passes on and they had property and they had beneficiaries, that property or that estate has to devolve to the people who have been left as beneficiaries to that estate. So it's one area in family law that is it's actually at the core of family law. So succession, is the devolution of property from the deceased estate to their beneficiaries. And what happens is one has to be identified as once somebody dies. There are people who are claiming that estate. They have to be identified by the local chief through a letter that this person died and they hailed from my local jurisdiction, and I know they left person A, B, C, D, E as their beneficiaries, and then that letter plus now the petition to be done by the advocate goes to the High Court or to the whichever court. For the court now to divide that estate to the people who have been left. So yeah, that is something that we can actually engage on. And but again, as property guys who want to buy property, always ensure that you're buying it. If the original owner is dead, you're buying it, or you're buying that land from somebody who has administrators of an estate with a confirmed grant from the court. Because you buy it, sometimes we engage in sales by people who have not gone through a succession process. Then we are also committing a crime without. So you have to make sure that the court has appointed an administrator who is engaging you in the sale.
Yeah.
So it has to be after confirmation of grant.
Yeah.
Yes.
So still on succession, just to give you a case scenario.
Yes.
Family, the granddad maybe owned huge chunk of property.
Yes.
He was a polygamous guy, so many 7 or 5 wives within a huge chunk of property. They have also families within. He passes on. The grandmothers also pass on. And now a town is expanding into part of these people's property. How can they solve succession issues?
Well, first of all, obviously, as we said, that person who's deceased, their property must always devolve to their beneficiaries.
Yes.
One mistake we do is that we take too long to institute succession proceedings to make sure that we eliminate or we replace the original owner who's deceased with these other people.
Yeah.
If, let's say, obviously there is a town that is expanding into people's property, then there is something called a mandatory acquisition by the government.
Yes.
So what that means is that, as we said in the beginning, is that all this land is owned by the government. And for public good, for instance, if in our planning and you have land that I think we can build a road in.
Yeah.
The government has right within the constitution to acquire it mandatorily to make sure that, if we want to construct a dam for the public good, and the best place to construct that dam is within your property, then the constitution allows the government to take it by force.
Yes.
But then not by force, but just take it.
Yes.
But then the reliefs you have is that you have to be compensated before you're removed from that property with the current value of land at that particular point in time. So they're not buying it for it's not being bought at a lower rate. An example is the SGR. And what you've seen, people are removed from their land and they were compensated, and people are quite happy because of the current value. So the challenge that comes in is in succession land that has no owner. You have not done succession, so the owner is deceased. Even if the government has a lot of money to give you, who does it give to? So that money is kept until the day you guys organize yourselves. So the succession proceedings, if you want to, the best thing is to undertake them as early as possible. Yes.
As an advocate specializing in property law, can you share some success stories, that you've had, or notable cases where legal expertise played a crucial role?
Yes.
You keep talking about due diligence.
Yes.
Just to show our viewers, the importance of that. Where due diligence, indeed, if you've had experiences where due diligence helped a client or an investor or a company, a whole lot.
Yes. I'll give a good example. First of all, I have so many success stories.
Yes.
Obviously, they've not been reported.
Yes.
But I'll give a very good example of a very notable case that I dealt in. I came to get into this case, my client is a company I want to disclose.
Yes.
They bought land in 2011. Then I was not an advocate.
Yes.
Bought land in 2011, 100 acres in Kajiado, somewhere in Kajiado. Total amount then was 90 million, and all that money was paid. So the company here conducted due diligence. But the fraudsters we are talking about were very, very advanced. So what they had done is that they had gone to the main file of that property, removed the original or the correct documents of the owner, replaced them obviously in cahoot with the registrars there, with their documents, so that when you do or you conduct your due diligence, it comes positive with these fraudsters as the owners. And so on that basis, this company paid 90 million. And then within a year, when they were getting into the property to possess it, to subdivide, the original owner comes and they're very surprised. What are you doing here? And everybody is furnishing a title, so because both of them have a title. So when they sat down and they were asking themselves how they got there, my client had been conned 90 million.
What?
Again, what do? Go to the police, report, investigations are carried out, and the criminal case ended last year in July. I had been there for 4 years within, engaged in this criminal prosecution. The judgment was what? These fraudsters had defrauded my client of 90 million. So what do? Judgment is there in favor of my client.
Yes.
What had these people done with the 90 million? There were 3 of them, 30 million each. Everybody had bought other properties, Rwai, Thika somewhere, lorries. So all of them were, confiscated. And so we are now engaging in another civil action to sell all these properties and what they've done, or what they've bought, and the money that was frozen in their accounts to try and compensate back my client.
Yes.
I think that's a success story, because if it was not for the process that we had proved in court that my client was defrauded innocently, because we had searches, we had all those things, they had paid stamp duty, then it will not be a success story as it were.
Definitely.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
And indeed, viewers, Charles has many, many success stories, just to mention but a few. Even out of real estate, he has many, many, many more. And he's a guy I've seen, grow and develop. Really passionate about what he does. We were in the same campus. Always suited up and serious with law, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the compliment.
Thank you for your time.
Asante.
But before we wrap it up,
Yes.
onto the quick fire segment. Current book you're reading?
I'm very interested right now with issues. You heard me talk about prices and markets.
Yes.
And regulation.
Yes.
So I'm doing a lot of reading in economics. So I'm reading things to do with economics, try to understand it. So that's what I'm doing right now. Yes.
Family?
Yes. I'm married with kids.
Yes. And when you're not farming, when you're not doing law?
I'm most likely traveling road trips. I'm going to Kakamega tomorrow. So that's also part of
a long weekend.
Passion.
I hope you're going to plant trees on Monday.
I will not. I'm sorry, I won't. I had not made plans anyway.
Yes.
But with all these issues of taxation and everything, I think for this particular one, I'll be asleep.
But I know for sure you being a farmer, you plant trees a lot.
I do. Yes, I do. Yeah, but quite honestly, it's a very good initiative by the government. I hope we can all undertake.
Yes.
And we can make it a practice. It's not a day.
It's not a day.
Yes,
it's not a one-day thing.
It's not a one-day thing. We can make it.
Another thing is, we plant, example, 1 million trees. I hope we are able to maintain them and see them grow.
That's true.
Because it's one thing to plant.
And it's another thing because we have the required forest cover that is required for any country. I think we can get there. I think we can all become conservationists.
True that.
Yes.
So the last question on the quickfire segment, it's just to inspire. I know there are a couple of guys looking up to you within your legal field, back at home, your cousins, your friends, and just the unknown many people who look up to you, and you don't know them. They don't know you. Okay, they know you because they see you. If you can just look at that camera and just speak to a 17-year-old you, and what would you do different as we wrap it up?
For me, discipline, and I'll just say I just do the right thing. Keep working hard, and hard work pays always. But there's also God. I mean, you can't do away with God. I mean, He's integral in your daily living. So I think for me is God, discipline, and working hard.
Yes,
it pays.
How do we get to you if we're looking for you?
Well, my office is at Blue Violets Plaza, 4th floor. Suite 407. I run a partnership called Mugane Law LLP.
Yes.
And my number is 0712-741-566.
If you'll repeat it kindly.
0712-741-566.
Thank you so much for your time.
Asante sana.
I appreciate.
Thank you so much.
And we're looking forward to greater things together.
Yeah, greater things.
As we move forward.
Thank you so much.
Viewers, as we wrap it up, indeed, we've heard from Charles, advocate of the High Court, on the legalities around real estate. And indeed, after watching all this, you'll get to see that it is indeed a safe place to be in if you follow the due diligence and do all that is needed to do to safeguard your investments. It is possible. It is a lucrative area to be in, and more coming from here, Teampursuit Estates, where indeed we're finding you a home where your heart blossoms. Until next time, viewers, signing out. It's your host, Jermaine. Salute.